we can all admit to being vain at some point when it comes to picking our partner. And then,
You're like, she looked
life
good. She looked
happens.
good.
It's like, we'll make some good babies. This will work.
Exactly. Check.
I was like, she's bad.
Yeah. Bad meaning
She's
good.
cute.
Yeah.
Damn.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Upfront. I'm John Graham and I'm here with my beautiful wife, Sana. And we have an amazing show today. We have some beautiful guests, some family friends of ours who we have had the pleasure and the luxury of watching them get married, being at their wedding and actually being a part of their journey. So very happy to welcome Greg and Helanah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi. What's up, y'all?
Hey.
Hey now. How are y'all doing?
Good. Really good.
Good?
Really good. We're in the throes of
Parenting, marriage, building a family.
Awesome.
Year 7 of the marriage. There's a lot going on.
Going into year 7.
Hey, that's what's up. So look, give us a little background. Introduce yourselves. Who are you? What are you doing? How long you been married? All of the things.
Yes, my name is Helanah, and this is my husband, Greg. We have 2 beautiful boys and a growing family. We are both like creative energies, and that's a lot of what attracted us to each other, I believe. Myself personally, I work in the wellness space, so hosting retreats and experiences that allow people to reconnect to themselves in various ways. So, whatever that entails, whether it's meditation or yoga or healthy eating, but just helping. Leave me alone. Why are you trying to tickle me while I'm talking? Trying to sabotage over here. A lot of my vibe right now is just like being in retreat all the time. So making sure that the life that I help other people live, that I'm also embodying that in the fullness, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So that's what I do and really love enjoying. But I'm a mom and an entrepreneur and a retreat facilitator and a writer working on a cookbook and also a wife and a sister. So yeah, this is a little bit, I guess.
I love it. Go ahead, babe.
All right. So, how did you crazy lovebirds meet?
We met in Philadelphia. I was living in DC. We met in Philadelphia. I was visiting a health conference and saw Greg at an after hours spot where he was doing poetry, which is his first love, I feel like. And we actually both lovers of words. And my background is in linguistics, and then he's a writer, so we kind of connected on the word play. And from there, started dating long distance, and then broke up, as all happy couples do, because, in fact, John, I was on the phone with you shortly before that, and I was like, "You need to get your boy. Like, what's happening?" And you were like, "Just hang in there." And honestly, the community that Greg introduced me to, like you all were his friends before I met you all, and then you really welcomed me with such open arms. It's a big reason I think why our relationship has been so successful. I feel like defining success is a whole other conversation, but to me, being able to weather the storm and go through the ups and downs, get through the dips, and when you're at the top, celebrate, like that is success. It's not saying that everything is perfect. In fact, that is a big part, I think, of why we've been able to stay together, is because we have couples, accountability couples, loving couples that support us, like you, like both of you. But anyway, we started dating long distance, and then Greg proposed, and we got married, and then.
If you really want to convince someone that you are serious about your pursuit for commitment or intentions for marriage, write handwritten letters
Is that what you did?
with arts and crafts stuff on there. And if they speak multiple languages, lean into the languages that they speak. Be creative and thoughtful about expressing your love, care, and intentions to nurture an amazing partnership for life.
And Greg, is that how you feel? The intro story, that was a big part of the intro story, like as far as you doing those things for Helanah along the way.
Let's just say this.
Yes.
If I wasn't a writer, this interview probably is not happening right now.
All
Being able to
right.
articulate yourself, being able to communicate one's feelings, being able to have a space where you can be authentic and transparent, being able to do that even with yourself and being okay with taking the risk because you can't get a reward without taking any risk. And marriage is just that.
That's real.
Wonderful. Great. Dropping gems already. We just started.
That's really real. Look, I think you bring up a couple of great points already in terms of communication, authenticity, a little courage, some fearlessness, even.
Community.
Community, absolutely. And then also a willingness to do what you know your partner will respond to because you are actively listening and paying attention. I think you hit a lot of great notes. He's brief, but he didn't miss.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
That's
powerful.
great. That's powerful, man. I love it. I
You
love
can
it.
tell they're a wise couple.
They are. Y'all been here before. It's great. Your love story is one that I think should be written about and talked about for sure. And you mentioned, Helanah, that there was the breakup, which all good couples go through, right? And I think that's very important because we have our own stories to share in that regard. And I think forging a long-term relationship through adversity is crucial, right? It can't all be roses, and the faster you get through the adversity, or the better you get through the adversity, I think there's a better payoff at the end. But how did you know to stay with it, right? How did you know that each other was worth fighting through the adversity for?
It's gonna feel very esoteric, but it was spirit. It was just undeniable. It was something that I felt, that I kind of like, I felt that way about Greg. And so I didn't have like the answers. I didn't have like a verbose sort of like introduction to it. It was something that like a dance, to be honest. Something that's
You
just
are
in you from birth, it was just in me. I didn't feel like I was externally picking him or anything like that. It was just it was just like a very deep spiritual clarity. Probably clearer than most things that I think I had known up to that point.
I love that. And I feel like I can totally identify with that too. With John and I felt like it was a sort of magnetism. Like even though it wasn't the best situation, it was like something kept pulling us together as much as we tried to fight. And I'm glad we fought for it, and I'm glad that you fought for it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That wasn't definitely initially because like when I was young and single, I'm still very young, but when I was young and single when I was young and single, I was finding my voice, and in doing that, I was listening to other people's voices. And at first, I feel like you kind of think like, oh, this is a mix of what everybody else is thinking, what my mom is saying, my grandmother, my friends, my girlfriends, my other married friends, my not married friends, my whomever. So, social media, the internet, TV shows, movies, like there's so much input. And then I think there comes a part where you have to put these filters on the input, and you have to start to kind of hear like, what is my actual voice, my unique voice, my unique perspective, especially when it comes to relationships. And so I think initially I was really just like trying to figure that out. And then once I was able to really tap into source, tap into spirit, like get very clear on who I was through the process of relationship, I don't think I knew as much as I know about myself when I met Greg, but as part of our marriage has unfolded, I've learned more about myself in the container that is marriage. So I think that's another conversation as well. But I didn't know why I should hold on necessarily. I just felt that I should. And then I think mixed with hearing my own voice, filtering out the noise, but then also hearing the right voices too. Like I said, I spoke with you, John, through the process of my doubt, and you were like a trusted sounding board among other male friends of his that I had reached out to when I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm wavering a little bit, and then you were like, hang in there, hang in there, sis. And I just remember that conversation so vividly. So thank you to you as well. But yeah, a mixture of, I think, both internal compass and also guides along the way that can help a person anyway to find their voice, to hear their voice, and then to take that leap, to take that risk.
Greg, I gotta ask, because a lot of brothers will hold off on taking that leap until the career is perfect, the finances are perfect, like all of the stars in the heavens align before you pop that question. What
Mm-hmm.
what did you go through? What was your process to get to that point of saying, you know what, I'm ready?
I think I would veer on the side of spirit and intuition too. I think the night I met her, I knew something was up. I think I started having those conversations probably within the first 2 or 3 hours of meeting her. Like, whoa, I think this is the wife. I think she is the one. Now, when you start to pick it apart, you're like, oh, we're spiritually aligned. Oh, we're there was some emotional maturity there. There's also this intellect and this intelligence that is connected as well. And then, she's beautiful, right? We can all admit to being vain at some point when it comes to picking our partner. And then,
You're like, she looked
life
good, she looked
happens.
good.
It's like, we'll make some good babies. This will work.
Exactly. Check.
I was like, I was like, she's bad.
Yeah, bad meaning
She is
good.
cute, cute.
Yeah.
Damn. Mm-mm-mm.
I love it.
And I was at a certain point where I started asking myself these real questions about would I marry me and about what I would look for if that person came about. And to be honest, the first few months, it was clicking so easily. And we didn't have a title or anything. We were more so just really exploring. It scared me. It really did scare me. And I think that is something that a lot of people go through and think they have it right. They know it's right, but the problem is, do they have the courage to continue to move forward and and engage what the commitment could be? It was also, I saw myself getting older, and I knew at some point I had to like make a different decision instead of engaging in these I would say limited relationships that I was often attracting broken individuals who reminded me of my broken self. And in those moments, I had to become sometimes my broken self just to equally yoke with them, which I thought was regressive.
You spoke on several things that in fact, in one of recent episodes, talking about the brokenness in you attracts the brokenness in other people. So this is real.
Gold.
This is gold. So Helanah, you mentioned the outside noise and the inputs, and so many inputs. And so both of you, I'd love for you to share with the audience what was your relationship or proximity to healthy relationships before you got married that gave you sort of a model of what you did want or what you don't want?
That's a good question. I think for me, I had people like y'all, couples like y'all around me, and then was other couples that I saw as well, and I was able to pick what was working for other people and see if it actually fit in my life and in my value system and what I wanted for me. Um, and I think there were other couples around me where, and just having real conversations with other men who were husbands who I didn't see enjoying it often, who would say certain things that I found puzzling, like, talking about side Johns or talking about um, wanting to be out the house. I think there were some men around me who didn't cherish what they had. And that's not saying these people aren't still married, It's just saying that I think at one point they looked at themselves as captives in the institution of marriage instead of liberators, right? And I think there is a freedom you do gain by committing to one person because it now allows you to push away all these other distractions, and it allows you to engage with yourself on a deeper level. Some would say it's shadow work, but it's hard to do shadow work with somebody who doesn't understand shadows, right? So I think being as though Helanah and I both are in the space of, I would say, wellness, it aligns us with conversations around health from all different levels on a holistic level. But that health also, you take up T and H, you have heal, right? And you can't be healthy if you're not willing to heal. So you need somebody that you could actually move through your wounds with as well. Somebody who's not going to run when your beautiful becomes ugly. And I think I was around people at times who did not run from the ugly in their relationships. And I was around people who wanted it to be perfect and beautiful. And they were denying that they were ugly, that they had to confront, And I think for me, it was more so finding that balance and understanding where certain women and men in my life were and where I was going and what I wanted and desired.
Helanah,
Wow.
what about growing up? What were some of the models that you saw either in the household or outside?
For me, I did not see a lot of good models. So I was pretty anti-marriage for a long time as a young person. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That looks a
It's so
mess.
funny
That looks
you
a
say
total
that.
mess.
It's so funny
Why?
you say that because you just, ever since I met you, seem like wife material, like the first day.
Oh,
So for
thank
you to
you.
say that just
Thank
is
you.
so, it just blows my mind that you ever thought that.
Well, let's dig in.
Yeah.
Let's dig in. What
Mm-mm.
did you see? What was your dynamic?
Yeah, there was just like a lot of looking back now from this lens, I would say it was pain.
Mm.
There's a lot of people in pain and they didn't know what to do with it, for it, about it, through it, around it. They was just clueless. So they were really coping. That's really what it was. But when I was going through it as a child, I didn't have that sort of, awareness. So it felt like very scary. It felt very abusive, verbally abusive, physically abusive, mentally abusive, emotionally abusive, even financially. Like there was so much instability around me that I had to really develop skills that allowed me to have tunnel vision. And I say this even now in conversations that we have with our kids, that Greg and I have about our children, is, I have always carried my home like in my heart with me. So I've never really felt like, oh, this place is my home, this house is my home, this city is my
Yeah.
home. I don't really move like that. And it's a beautiful skill on the outside, right? Because it makes me very fluid, very flexible, very adaptable, very open. But it was definitely born out of a sad place, in the sense that I didn't have that. Like my friends would go back in college to their parents' house. I didn't have two parents. They would go back to the room they slept in as a kid in high school. I didn't have a house that I grew up in. We grew up in many different houses. So everything was so varying for me that I had to kind of find what is going to be my steady state. There were a couple of relationships here and there, like some extended family and other people in my community that I saw that seemed like they were happy. And I was like, that's cool. But I didn't think much of it. And so I really had in my mind that I was going to, you know, have children. I knew I always wanted to be a mother, but I definitely did not always want to be a wife, because that seemed like a treacherous journey. And so I thought, well, if I can have children without having to deal with the husband piece of it, then that would be an easier journey. And so as I embarked upon my own healing work, I was able to really uncover what that could look like, and exposed to more conversations, exposed to more literature, and honestly exposed to more experiences where I actually like saw healthy couples in conversation, saw healthy couples in community, saw healthy couples in conflict. I was like, okay, that looks interesting. And it was just little breadcrumbs along the way to kind of get me to the point. So by the time I met Greg, I wasn't really interested in getting married even then yet either. I just was like, oh, he seems beautiful and great, and like this feels deep and important. I'm gonna go on this path. I was a very like free. I still am a very like free spirited, go with the flow person. So despite what I saw as a child, I decided to get married.
Look at that. There's hope. That is the number.
Exactly. This story has been filled. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
this personal story. Your journey in this, I think, will provide so much hope for others who may feel the exact same way that you did previously and turned out to be an amazing wife and amazing mother. So thank you so much for sharing that. That was awesome.
I guess it's just proof that you can create something that you don't see.
Well, and also I think the value there is learning what you do want by experiencing what you don't, right? Learning what you
Yeah.
do want by
Yeah.
experiencing what you don't want. Excellent, Greg.
Well,
I
can
wanted
I
to
say
give you
one
some
thing?
space. Yeah, I wanted to give you some space also about what you grew up in, as well as the model for relationship, healthy or otherwise.
Yeah, I think watching my father and my mother, it was very, very interesting. From what I saw, was commitment. I saw a constant, stable home because there was consistency in place. And so for me, the idea that I would get married was kind of always sitting somewhere in my mind. It was not something I was growing up thinking about it from like a perspective of like, yeah, that was traditional. I don't want to do that. Man, what? No. Like seeing my parents take care of children, seeing my parents show up, and in no way was it perfect, but they loved each other, and sometimes they were dysfunctional, right? But they were dysfunctional enough for them to function. If you get what I drift. My father was a reformed street guy who survived gang war in Philadelphia, who used his body at some points to show me and raise me through story. And a bullet wound led to this happening, or the stab wound on the back was this. And you need to make good decisions when it comes to this. And we're talking about somebody, if my father was alive today, I recently found one of his paychecks from like 1993, which was really interesting for me. And it was in The Message to a Black Man, written by Elijah Muhammad. And it was on like page 258. And I was just like, what was he reading? And it was like crazy. Like he was reading this book about family, about the idea of being a man, right? And we know these individuals that write these books aren't always the best examples, right? We know the stories about Elijah Muhammad, but he left one heck of a blueprint when followed correctly. And I think my father was always tussling with being a better man, and he even attributed my mother saving his life by being such a stand-up, consistent woman. And there were moments when my mom was definitely thinking about leaving. There was moments she shared it with me, and there's other friends of my father who talked about like these groups of women who would gather and sit with Miss Everett, who was one of the first babysitters I had, and they would just vent to Miss Everett. And Miss Everett was a matriarch in the community, and she would help counsel these women through these challenges around men and their dysfunctions and ways to handle it. And when this, it was about timing and when to stand up, when to put down the gauntlet, right? And I think hearing that in reflection of what I saw, it's like it takes a village to raise a marriage, the same way it takes a village to raise a child, right? So my father is not just showing up in the house every day working triple overtime. My mom is not just showing up working overtime. They're coming back to the center and raising from this nucleus on Spark Street in Philadelphia and building a family every day in and out. And I often wonder, like, what drove y'all? Like, we're talking about there were mornings where I had, like, my mom was putting Vaseline on both my sisters, my sister and my face. And and it's snowing outside and we gotta walk. And it ain't no easy walk. We talking about a mile and a half to the babysitter. Right. And so it's having those things locked in and understanding how hard that must have been, and using that as fuel to know that I can like manage and get through anything with this beautiful woman and this partner right here. So for me, yeah, I think it errs on the side of consistency, the ability to navigate change, and the courage to look at one another and have honest conversations.
Mm. Both are speaking from positions of healing, y'all. This is what
Yes.
you're hearing. You're hearing what healed and in marriage sounds like. So everybody comes with their own baggage and their own pasts, but how you heal through that to be ready for somebody in marriage this is a beautiful example.